All right, and to break down the Red Sox first half and to talk about today's game is Nick Friar from the New Bedford Standard Times, WSAR Radio. How are we doing today?
Doing well, thanks. How about yourself?
All right, I'm doing well. Before we get to the first half and review today's game, a pretty good David Price outing, sort of wasted. They lose. Going to the break in a bit of a skid, but in totality a 6-4 road trip. Momentum kind of squash going into the break, or how did today's result kind of dictate that for you?
Well, the other thing is that Joe Kelly lost his scoreless streak too, and that hurts a little bit. So he's losing a little bit of momentum, but Price doing well. I know they didn't get the win, but for him, this is good. He's continuing to pitch well despite all the off-the-field issues, we'll say. But I don't think they've lost momentum fully. It's just a chance for them to reset and, look, they're still in a comfortable position in first place, and that's huge. That's what's more important at the end of the day.
All right, 50-39 record, on pace for 91 wins. Was this first half a success?
Absolutely. And again, I always go back on this. The fact that they've had all these injuries that they've had to deal with, Price early on, Erod losing him, they've had Fister to fill in, but obviously he's been okay. To be able to deal with all that and then the other bumps and bruises on the offense, that's huge. So to be able to be in first place, the way the Yankees played early on, and I know they've kind of skidded of late, really skidded of late, it's, where they are right now, really good spot.
Now, there were the last place seasons the last several years. Obviously, the World Series in 2013. Last year, they made the playoffs. This year, I feel like has a unique feeling in that they're in first place, but they don't really feel like a first place team. Is this Red Sox team a good ball club?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the reason you feel that way, and most people do, Yianni, is because there's not an excessive amount of home runs by any stretch, and they're not this crazy flashy team either. Sure, on defense they're good and they've gotten a lot better. They've been one of the best teams in terms of errors over the past 25 games. So I think the start of the season was kind of weird. There's enough issues with this team that it makes you question them a little bit still.
So maybe they're not as likable. Maybe it's an Ortiz factor.
Oh, they're definitely not as likable. I mean, the personalities on this team, they're about as interesting as a doorknob for the most part.
But they got the young guys, the killer bees.
But look, I like Benintendi. He's talented and whatnot. He's a nice kid, but he doesn't have any personality whatsoever, and he's one of those guys everybody's supposed to be excited about.
All right. All is said and done, 162 games. Will this team make the playoffs?
Yeah, I think so. And again, the pitching staff is starting to figure it out. The bullpen scares me a little bit. Kelly's done well, Kimbrel's done well, but outside of that, Barnes didn't do so hot today. There are question marks still there, but if Carson Smith, he's supposed to come back. Apparently, he's going to throw in Fort Myers during the break. If he can come back and be somewhat what we expect him to be, then that'll be like adding a guy at the trade deadline.
So they win the division. Is it close? They're up 3+ right now with the Yankees. Is it New York in the end, or are the Sox going to pull away at some point?
I think this series coming out of the break against New York is going to be huge for that, because the Yankees are scuffling right now. If they can gain momentum, win 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox, then it's going to be a tight race. If they can't, then I think the Red Sox are going to be on cruise control. Hopefully not a repeat of 11, but you never know.
All right, give me your first half MVP as a pitcher and as a position player for the Sox.
Has to be Chris Sale without doubt. And I know Kimbrel's done well, been successful out of the bullpen, very reliable. But Chris Sale, 100 with 78 strikeouts. He should be the starting pitcher for the All-Star game. There's no question in my mind. He could even win the Triple Crown. I know it's not an award, but for pitchers, for starting pitchers. So he's done well. You can't ask for more than what he's given you. Mookie Betts, I would say, on offense, he's been reliable. On defense as well. I know Jackie Bradley's done well on offense and always does well on defense, but Mookie Betts is your all-star. At the end of the day, he's the only guy that got the nod, and that's voted on by his peers, not the fans. So that makes a big difference too.
All right, what do the Red Sox have to do in the second half to really make themselves, in position to be a playoff team that can go deep into the playoffs?
I think they need to kind of figure out their identity still. And I think that's part of why they don't feel like a first-place team, because everybody wants the home runs. They start hitting home runs, and then they're not scoring. They're not chipping away. Otherwise, I like when this team's hitting doubles. Singles, that's fine. You don't need to hit the long ball. That's not how you guys win ball games. Sure, you get it from Hanley once in a while and Mookie, but outside of that, they don't need that. The other thing, they need to figure out what the heck they want to do at third base. I like Lynn. I like Marrero. But Sandoval is still kind of an issue because they're going to have to bring him up at some point. It's going to be a while still. And then they need one more guy out of that bullpen that they can trust. Hopefully somebody steps up. Barnes was good last year. It would be good if he could step up again. So I guess the bullpen, one more piece, and then really establishing third base. And if they trade for Prado, I don't like that move. I like Lynn. I like Marrero. You don't need a lot of offense, and even then, Lynn's provided a lot still.
Yeah, there are some guys out there if they want to go that route. All right, MLB All-Star Game in Miami Tuesday night. I still think the outcome of it determining home field advantage is ridiculous. But what do you make of the All-Star game? I know as kids we kind of romanticize how great it was. Is it still something you enjoy covering the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's All-Star games in general, and the fact now that this one actually doesn't matter for home field advantage is huge.
Oh, they changed that this year.
Yes, they did.
I totally forgot about
it's all right, and that's what I'm here for. But the fact that it doesn't matter, I think, takes away from it. I know a lot of people don't like that.
I didn't think they needed that.
But why? Most people say, why
then
you watch it?
If you got an 86-win team out of the NL that wins, and the NL won the All-Star game, their home field advantage over a 100-win team, then that's kind of bogus.
Yeah,
Isn't that what happened with Chicago and Cleveland last year?
Yeah, and I understand. Yes, it is what happened. And I get that, but it's just, why else are you going to watch an All-Star game now? They have interleague play. You see NL guys play AL guys all the time.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's one of the better All-Star games. I mean, obviously, football is terrible. Yeah, it's probably the best. But the home run derby is really what we all care about. That's the fun stuff, and they've gotten that right with a clock. I love the home run derby. I'm looking forward to that more so than anything else. But maybe Sale goes and pulls a Pedro, strikes out 5 guys over 2 innings. That'd be nice.
Except it wouldn't be at Fenway. And it wouldn't be against roided up guys
Yes, this is true. But I mean, they're on pace to have a record-setting home run year. Maybe it's because the balls are juiced.
All right, Nick Friar, thanks so much for coming in. You coming in on Wednesday. We'll talk about the second half, looking ahead to the Red Sox season. All right, thanks so much for joining us.
No problem.